Somehow, this TV series manages to make material from a great science fiction dull, unsuspenseful, and the characters unlikable. This stems from one thing only: the decisions made in adaptations for the new characters and the changes in plot timeline. Here, let me show you why. Firstly, the so-called Oxford Five replace the journey of many different characters spread throughout the entire 3-book trilogy, and some of them go through the story arcs of 2 or more characters, or no character arc whatsoever, such as the case of the additional new character Jack Rooney. These so-called Oxford Five are all childless, unmarried, uncommitted academics, linked by a vague connection they have studying together in the past in Oxford, which is never really delved into or shown whatsoever. They hardly are the type of people who have skin in the game, or much to lose with humankind's demise. They already seem pretty unhappy. Sometimes the writers even forget basic rules of writing: show, don't tell. Jin Chung and Oggy in the first scene of so-called original writing just go ahead and answer the advances of a man by telling the man their exact research interests and positions. That in that scene in the bar, it's almost as if the writers are trying to make us dislike the characters. Or do they think that's a likable way to be with people? This is just one misstep among many, and a long list that I could produce. Much of the journey of the first book in the 3-body problem trilogy we see through Wang Miao's eyes. He has a daughter and a family. Now, despite the fact that he goes through the discovery process of the countdown in his eyes by himself, and little mention of them is made, they do keep his feet on the ground. Augie is the first main character to interact with the events of the 3-body problem. Augie Salazar, I think, is her full name. And she experiences the countdown in her eyes like Wan Miao does. For Wan Miao, his experience of the countdown in his eyes, his reaction towards it goes from bemusement to horror in a slow car crash, which builds up the tension. He deduces via photography that he has a hobby in, that they appear only to him, and in everything that he sees. Simultaneously, he meets with ETO members who eventually drop a hint to him to stop his research and that the universe would flicker for him. This is a suspenseful process because the viewer, like Wan Miao, has to wait and think about why it's happening. We, like Wan Miao, are forced to ask questions gradually and think to ourselves, what would we do if we were Wan Miao? Unlike Wan Miao, Oggy simply expresses shock at seeing them in her eyes and discomfort, goes to a neurobiologist off screen, and meets someone who tells her why they are there, via Tatiana, who just tells her, and involve minimal questioning and searching for answers. No suspense is built up. Jin Chung, another one of the Oxford Five, is the next character to interact with the 3-body plot, when she turns up at her dead colleague's house for no apparent reason. This is told, not shown to us later, when they mention Ye Wenjie used to make her Chinese food when she was in university. Then Ye Wenjie just gives her the game. To get to this stage, Wan Miao, he has to attend some unsettling meetings with the ETO, and the game is a complete mystery. It feels as if we're stepping into something risky and dangerous when he gets an invite to play the game. not something your dead colleague's mother just gives you. Jin Cheng is to experience the game playing aspect of Wang Miao's story. This is an inexplicable misstep. The combined experience of the countdown and game playing really let us get to know Wang Miao and for him to have our sympathy. By the time he plays the game, we have already seen how he copes with stress, how introverted and how awkward he is. What can we say at this point about Jin Cheng? By the time she plays the game, all that we can say about her is that she's a scientist and she has a boyfriend who's an admiral for some reason. That's it. So why should we care about her when she's playing the game? Another problem stemming from giving multiple characters different parts of the same role is that they seem feeble and weak compared to Wang Miao. Whilst he has the fortitude to go through both the experiences of the countdown and game playing, Augie, on the other hand, is traumatized by the countdown and gives up because of her fear of losing a visa. And Jin Cheng becomes unhealthily obsessed with playing the game by herself, seemingly giving up going into work and seeing her boyfriend. Why would we respect such feeble characters? I haven't even mentioned how Jack's character serves no purpose to the plot, other than to be the butt of lewd jokes, and to be the only one who comes across as actually caring for Will, the teacher character who would eventually donate his brain to science. The nerve of the writing to later say that the characters wish to get justice for Jack is something to behold. I haven't even mentioned yet how they remove the whole story of Ye Wenjie's relationship with Yang Wening. It was this relationship where she gradually builds trust in him at the Red Coast base into a wholesome relationship, at least a relationship she felt enough love in to have a child, only for her to be faced with a choice between sending her message to the stars or saving her husband. She chooses betrayal. Instead, they make her fall in love with a small, insignificant character in the book by Moulin, who she has a flirtation with, sure, in the book. Never anything more, given how raw she was, having just experienced the trauma of seeing her own father die before her eyes. Here they make that relationship a much closer one, and he explicitly betrays her on the screen. This leaves no mystery. All in all, this is a clear attempt at making Ye Wenjie's hopeless betrayal of humankind more justifiable than in the book, where she experiences a healthy relationship and a chance of relative happiness and moving on from her horrible experiences. Some impactful scenes are not included from the book because of these additional new characters. In the original book, Dashi, in the Netflix TV series Clarence, and Wang Miao are the main characters and gradually build up a relationship over time from one of distrust to friendship. They get this closeness via the act of witnessing the traumatic experiences together. The first traumatic experience is Wang Miao seeing the countdown, witnessing the universe flicker, and for his foundational worldview to fall around him, that is, his trust in the predictable world of science and rules. After this, it is Dashi who finds him, takes him to eat, and it is this restaurant scene that brings them together. Dashi, in short, tells Wang Miao to keep his chin up, and Wang Miao goes from being devastated, so devastated that he cannot eat, to wolfing down food by the end of the scene, his will to fight restored. We get nothing anywhere near this in the Netflix version. Augie sees the universe flicker, her mouth gapes open, and that's it. There's no result from this, no bringing together of characters via the shared horror of what it means. There wasn't even any suspense in it happening. It happens 50 minutes in the first episode. So much for the character additions. Now, the plot timeline changes detract from the tension of potentially explosive scenes. In the original books, Wang Miao is dejected and crestfallen once again when they find out of the omnipotent power of the three-body people in being able to manipulate science, their results in fundamental physics, see everything they do and say. It's like a huge mountain is being put in front of him when he's already climbed one. It is at this moment that Dasha picks him up once more, like he did before, and takes him to the restaurant. But this time he drives him out to the country and takes him to see a field of locusts, and then gives an encouraging speech. The power of the speech is contingent on the fact that we as viewers, along with Wang Miao, feel so hopeless. We are hopeless because the powers arrayed against us seem invincible, and we are shown that they are not, via Dasha's encouraging speech in comparing us to the locusts. The speech delivered by Clarence, the equivalent character to Dasha in the Netflix version, a completely different point in the timeline. The human race has discovered a chink in the armour of the Santee people, one that they do not know at this stage in the books or the Tencent version. That is, they cannot read our minds, and the Wallfacer project has already started with the members being announced. It already gives hope to people. At least we know that we can have secrets from the Santee. And this is when the Netflix version chooses to deliver the speech. It detracts from the power of the speech. Not only this, but they played it understated and dry, without much energy from Benedict Wong. In a series that lacks any fist-punching moments, this was an opportunity to go out with a bang. I'd say this is a perfect metaphor for the TV series. Good source material misused. An open goal for the taking and missed. I haven't even mentioned the slapdash and rushed way the game itself is dealt with. I'll leave that for another video. All in all, this Netflix version somehow manages to make the source material look bad. It is purely by its own choices of changing characters, the timeline, and making them just simply unlikable.